The power of combo with the disruption of a tempo deck is a versatility that few Legacy decks can boast. Infect has fallen out of favor with the steady power creep of the format, the more efficient removal that exists, and the recent errata of all Infect creatures to become Phyrexian, making the deck slightly more susceptible to typo hate. However, the deck remains as powerful as ever. Infect's lack of meta share should be considered a strength and not a weakness, as most players are unequipped to deal with the deck's nuances and intricacies that are required to combat the deck effectively. I was a giant fan of the deck during the Deathrite Shaman era, and I piloted the deck to a few top 8s. But today we've recruited top Poison Peddler, FenrusCloud, to help explain Infect, break down its strengths, and help you pilot it to a top finish at your next tournament. FenrusCloud has scored impressive finishes with the deck over the past few months and is a top pilot of the Phyrexian Menace. He's the authority on Infect in the current meta, and we're super excited to have him help us explain the power of this deck.
Before we start, let's clarify what Infect actually is. Infect is a blisteringly fast, highly aggressive deck that aims to win not by reducing the opponent's life totals to 0, but by dealing 10 poison counters. It's a unique strategy that's very hard to play, but that can also catch ill-prepared opponents off guard, as it's also very hard to play against. Let's break down the core elements of Infect. So for creatures, we have Glistener Elf, Blighted Agent, and Inkmoth Nexus as the main threats. These creatures have Infect, meaning they deal poison counters instead of regular damage. We also have Noble Hierarch, which works as a pump effect and acceleration. Sometimes it can also be an alternative victory path when the opponent does not respect their own life totals. For example, Death Shadow or Sylvan Library can quickly reduce the life totals, and then we can make abuse of our pump spells to kill them with regular damage if we want to. Supporting our creatures are a slew of pump spells: Berserk, Vines of Vastwood, and arguably the reason to play Infect, Invigorate. These turn our tiny creatures into lethal threats. New to the team is Embiggen from Infinity. Embiggen reads, for 1 green and an instant, until end of turn, target non-Bushwhack creature gets +1/+1 for each super type, card type, and subtype it has. This was a missing piece of the Infect puzzle and ushered in the current renaissance the deck has seen. It's basically +4/+4 to Glistener Elf and Blighted Agent, thanks to the recent errata of all Infect creatures, including Phyrexian as a subtype. Inkmoth Nexus even gets +5/+5, thanks to being both a land and an artifact, apart from the known types Creature, Blinkmoth, and Phyrexian. Embiggen really is the best pump spell on rate since Invigorate, because now most attacks that include 2 pump spells are lethal, and usually our combo costs just a single green mana to pull off. The key to piloting Infect is timing. Your opponent might think they're safe with a Lightning Bolt or some other removals, but Infect is a deck that is very capable of navigating its way through a potential flurry of removal spells with a combination of counter magic and protection spells. Knowing when to go for it is what makes the deck especially challenging, since it also requires extensive knowledge of the format, of which cards your opponents usually have in their deck, and thus potentially in their hand. Powerful as Infect may be, the strategy is also very unforgiving, as going all in for the kill usually means you are spending 2 or 3 cards at once, and recuperating from this resource loss can be difficult. However, with careful timing and planning, Infect remains one of the most scary and explosive strategies in Legacy, and piling it to win feels extremely rewarding. While Infect can be explosive and one-shot kill the opponent, that's not always the game plan. Carefully selecting the moments to strike to keep opponents guessing, while under the threat of a lethal attack, is often fruitful. Our opponents are often in awkward positions. They want to develop, but Infect routinely demands action or the capacity for action anytime an Infect creature attacks. A mistimed removal spell caught by a Vines of Vastwood is often lights out. Jockeying for position while Infect creatures getting chip damage lowers the threshold of pump spells needed to represent lethal damage. Infect offers defense against other combo decks through Daze, Force the Will, and occasionally Spell Pierce or Flusterstorm. These cards can both protect your attacks or stop an opponent's game-winning combo. Playing an early threat and assuming a control role is a viable duke of Infect. Infect is flexible in its card choices. Sylvan Library and Crop Rotation, for example, are all cards that routinely show up in sideboards. Infect's success depends heavily on the metagame. Infect can thrive in a metagame filled with combo decks and or slower control strategies. Be prepared for decks that have both a fast clock and efficient removal, as they are typically the most challenging for Infect. Tempo decks pressure players to act on their terms, and a lack of precision can decide a game. Sideboard choices, of course, should reflect the metagame. There are a few important staples that earn their keep. Answers for Plague Engineer or Chalice of the Void is a must. Swords to Plowshares and Force of Vigor are potent answers. And Veil of Summer can often 2-for-1 opponents using black removal like Snuff Out or Fatal Push. When graveyard-based strategies see increased play, Endurance is a cheap, versatile countermeasure. Some Infect builds play some number of main deck crop rotations and the sideboard of silver bullets like Karakas, Bajuka Bog, and or Wasteland. Personal favourite Great Sable Stag and True Name Nemesis are pivot options that also work well with pump spells against unprepared opponents who have to respect the threat of Infect and Overboard for their weaknesses. Sideboards are always a work in progress and reflect how well the Infect pilot understands the strengths and weaknesses within a metagame. Occasionally we do get new cards in Infect, but only Invigorate, Berserk, and the threats are untouchable currently. In recent years, cards like Scale Up, Become Immense, and recently Royal Treatment have all come and gone. As the power level of the format increases, so too, it seems, does the quality of new pump spells. At the time of recording, Legolas's Quick Reflexes is soon to hit the sea. It reads, Instant, for 1 green, split second, and tap target creature. Until end of turn, it gains Hexproof, Reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. Now, Untap and Reach can be powerful in a variety of circumstances, but Split Second is the Legacy power level effect. Basically uncounterable, granting Hexproof makes this the lead card, shutting off the opponent's removal spells that they can't fire off in response. Casting Quick Reflexes before attack allows for freely cast pump spells to create a lethal attack while turning the creature sideways, removing a potential blocker as Quick Reflexes includes potential removal. Even if the blocker is too large, damage dealt by Infect creatures results in -1/-1 counters and will always remain on the creature. Thus, it will almost certainly shrink the creature into chump block size. Legolas's Quick Reflexes will be the most impactful printing for Infect since its inception, potentially ending up being as important as Invigorate. It is unique that it is both the protection spell, which is what we have always wanted, and a removal spell, which is something that we've never seen before. And on top of it all, it can't be interacted with. I cannot stress enough how excited I am to play the deck with this card and how much I expect this to give the deck a much needed boost. This card could be Infect's Allosaurus Shepherd. Expect to see me playing, testing, and recording a lot with this card.
And there you have it, a comprehensive look at Legacy Infect, a deck that is often overlooked but can hold its own in the right hands. If you're a fan of fast-paced, high-stakes gameplay, then Legacy Infect might just be the deck for you. If you enjoy videos like these, make sure to remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as we'll be doing a lot more deck techs as we approach Eternal Weekend and beyond. Thanks for joining us, and may all your Infect counters always add up to 10, and you can quote me on that.
Hey, once again everybody, thanks for watching, and as always, if you can support this channel by subscribing to our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles. We really appreciate that as it helps keep the channel going. And check out this playlist, we've got a ton of more deck techs there, and get ready for Eternal Weekend. That's what we're here for, right? Later on.